Hey everyone! So today I wanted to really briefly talk about one of my favorite books. I mean, it is a book, but it's not in the traditional story sense. It is called Zeus Grants Stupid Wishes, a no bullshit guide to world mythology. It is put together and written by Cory O'Brien. It is one of the most brilliant books I've ever read. If you haven't read it, you have to read it. It basically tells the stories of different religions and pantheons and stuff like that throughout time. It tells their myths and stories very brashly, very crudely, and I feel like actually his introduction to the book sums up exactly why I like it so much. Keep in mind, this is coming from someone who likes to study these things. I've spent the last 3 years frantically accumulating mythological knowledge and distilling it into what I have affectionately called the death of intellectualism. I am proud of this because I think that lately myths have suffered from a severe intellectualism overdose. Everyone's always studying them in school, or reading watered-down versions of them to little kids. And what that means is that hardly anybody has the time to actually sit down and look at how fucking funny these things are. And that's essentially it, is he goes through huge myths and stories from different religions and just puts them out there without the fancy wording, without the, the wandering prose and whatever else. He just tells it like it is. So, without spoiling too much of the book, because seriously, this is a book you need to read. But I want to read a couple of my favorite quotes from his Greek god and goddess section, because I just think they're really funny, and it's hard to do any kind of book review on something like this, because what do you say about it? It's funny, it's witty, it tells the stories, it embellishes where needed, but it is so... And honestly, the best part is, if you're familiar with any of these stories, you'll read this and go, I didn't think of it like that. And I think that's honestly the best part, is it challenges the preconceptions that we have about these myths and stories, because when was the last time anybody decided to tell it like this? I mean, look at this title page. Or, look at that. So, talking about the story of Cronus, and talking about Uranus's sudden decide to, not have the kids that he and Gaia had. This is what the book says. It says, but then Uranus suddenly decides he hates all the kids, and instead of giving them up for adoption or something, he just decides to try and stuff them all back into his wife. These are not the babies I ordered, I am returning them to the baby store. Which I think demonstrates a really shocking lack of understanding of how babies are made. Is that not the best way you have heard that story described? The end of this story, he always has a little moral of the story. The end of this one. So the moral of the story is that if you're not ready to be a father, consider all your options before skipping directly to cannibalism. I think that's pretty good advice. The other story I want to quickly take you through parts of is his retelling of the Prophet Tiresias. I don't know what to say about this one, it's amazing. Tiresias is this guy who is out hiking one day and he sees these two snakes doing it, so he just goes, what? I don't want to see no snakes doing it up here on this mountain, and just runs up and beats them to death with his trusty walking stick, like a badass. And so then Hera gets angry and's like, I'm gonna turn you into a woman. So bam, Tiresias becomes a woman for 7 years. He doesn't treat it as a punishment basically at all, and in fact he just shits right into Hera's hands by becoming the best prostitute the world has ever seen. He/she invents so many new sex positions that they have to revise gravity to accommodate them. It's that kind of party. So, years later, Tiresias is wandering through the mountains again when he/she sees two snakes doing it and just says, fuck it, and runs up and beats them to death again. At which point Hera kinda sighs and realizes she's not gonna teach this motherfucker anything about anything, and turns him back into a man, because if you're gonna go around beating the shit out of reptiles, what are you if not the ultimate man? The point is, this book is amazing. I recommend to everybody, pick it up. It was $15 Canadian when I got it at the store. I can't even begin to talk about how much I love this book. It has a special place on my shelf in my heart because it is so brilliant. You can sit around all day and go, well, at some point these were someone's holy texts, and in some cases they do have the Judeo-Christianity stories in here for some of them. But I feel like if we can't, you know, learn to laugh and learn to appreciate what these stories are and what these myths are, which is they were a form of entertainment. They were a way of explaining things that didn't make sense. And honestly, they just did such a good job with them. They're funny. Alright, so that's it for this video. I just really want to talk about this book quickly because it's been on my mind to talk about, and yes, alright. So, bye!